Chargers fam, Tony Tucker, we need to have a conversation.
San Diego Chargers are fortunate to have Lance Allworth.
On blue, ready?
Don Coryell.
Touchdown, San Diego! Woo!
What is up, everyone that is in the chat right now and the entire Warzone Sports Network? It's Mike on the mic, Tony Tucker here with the newest episode of Nuts and Bolts, already week 13. A little scared that our time together on this show is coming to an end, Tony, but it's been a great season so far. I don't know how to feel today. I'm trying to be positive because, like I said, it has been a great season. The Chargers have had a good year already. We've seen a lot of growth from this team. We're seeing a lot of growth from Staley and getting some experience, but at the same time, losses like the loss to Denver is just painful because you know that we could play better and you know that we should win that game.
I think it's putting into perspective, right? It hasn't been a great year. There's been a lot of positive things that have come out of it, right? So, like, if we're looking at it on the totality of where Brandon Staley is as a coach and where the second-year stud quarterback is and where we're at with, like, elite players still contributing, the guys who are eating up a bunch of the salary, we're starting to see the young players get in there more. It's kind of been a down year. If you really think about the potential of this team and the fact that, like, Mike, what I'm about to say, you're going to be like, don't say that. You're going to jinx us, whatever. But there's been fucking health on the side of the Chargers this year. Keenan's playing games and Bosa's playing games, and they're still fucking losing a lot of this stuff, right? This is sad Chargers face. I want to be smiley, happy Chargers face. Bolts fucking up. What is happening where Joey Bosa is getting stiff-armed by a crippled Teddy Bridgewater throwing the ball for a touchdown on the run? I'm losing my mind watching the game, and I'm like, I text you in there. I said, they're going to put 3 touchdowns on the board in the fourth quarter, and instead that's what the Broncos. And, like, it went the other way, and it should have never went in the way that it ended up going in that game.
Yeah, and there's a lot of issues. There's a lot of issues and a lot of things that it comes down to, but really it comes down to play calling on offense, in my opinion, and execution. That's it. Our guys are there. They just got to make the play when they get there. The only person that's really making every single play time after time after time is Derwin James. That's it. Everyone else is making a lot of mistakes in these games.
Remember how I told you, like, he's so tired of running past people from 30 yards away to make a tackle? He finally looked around at his team in the Broncos game and was like, this should have been a 6-yard loss, and instead it's a 6-yard gain, and I had to run all the way across the field to clean up. He's like a father, like me. I constantly am walking around, pick up your socks, throw your trash away. What do you do? Like, you get exhausted from repeating yourself, and finally you're like, I will fucking ship you off to military school if you don't get it together. Like, he's going to have to look around at this defense and be like, you can't play next to me because you can't tackle.
Exactly.
Like, you're gone. He's going to be making cuts.
Time to start being an asshole. I see everyone in the chat with some score predictions. We are going to give both of our score predictions at the very end of the show, so stay tuned to hear how we think that the game against the Bengals is going to go. We're going to talk about a few topics first, and then we'll get to that. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. The chat is loaded up today. So
I love it.
Keep that coming. But yeah, I agree with you. Derwin James is an absolute superstar. And I was saying it when I was doing my safety rankings at the beginning of the year. I put him at 5th, I think, even through the injuries. And everyone roasted me in the comments. Everyone roasted me on the video. And I was telling them, like, you guys don't understand. When healthy, this guy is not going to be talked about amongst the safeties for best players in just the safety position in the league. This guy's going to be talked about as one of the best players in all of football. The way Aaron Donald's talked about, the way Patrick Mahomes is talked about, the way Tyreek Hill's talked, he's going to be one of the best players in football, period. He's the best safety in the league when he's healthy, and he showed it in this last game. He does it all, man. He got interceptions. He got strip sacks. He got a bunch of tackles, dropping back past defenses. What can't Derwin James do? Nothing. He's a superstar. He's an absolute 5-star superstar, Hall of Fame potential. This guy's insane.
And I'll tell you this right now, if these guys don't start catching the ball, he's going to be playing some tight end and running some jet sweeps for this team too, because another pick six off the hands of Austin Eckler. We've seen Cook run the wrong route, pick six the other way. Like, they're letting down the offensive side. So it's almost like we need Derwin and Herbert to get together and Voltron this thing. Like, with our powers combined, Herbert can't play defense. He ain't got that kind of athleticism or toughness. But we could bring Derwin to the offensive side of the ball, at least in the red zone. Mike's going to drop touchdowns. Let's let this, line him up in the slot. Let him run a little shake route to the corner.
Oh, man, that's a good point. And maybe Herbert could go on the other side and help with the edge problem that we have right now, because we're breaking containment almost every single time that they want to go outside on us in every single game. Because on the show, Pat McAfee, Herbert had an interview, I think it was 2 weeks ago now, a week and a half ago, and they're talking about how big he's gotten. He's like, yeah, I'm up to 240. And he was at like 225 when he came into the league. And they're like, holy shit. And Herbert was talking about sliding and how important it is that he gets down, doesn't take much contact, because he realized everyone's bigger, stronger, and faster than him. And Pat stopped him. He said, whoa. Earlier in the show, you told me you're 6'6", 240. There ain't no one bigger than you, young fella.
Love it. I love it.
Pretty awesome. This is a good transition. I have a little video clipped up here. They asked Keenan Allen about the drops.
If Herbert almost throws too much of a fastball, is there anything to that his ball just
I've never been a fan of somebody saying that. You got to catch the ball. If he throws it too hard, to go out there and turn the jug machine up and get ready to catch the fastball. So he throwing the ball to you, you better catch it. Shit. He said, I want the ball. Throw that motherfucker how you want to throw it.
And Keenan's talking about himself, but mainly I think the two biggest culprits, I guess three biggest culprits, Jared Cook. What the hell, man? You've been in this league way too long to be dropping passes thrown directly at your chest. Austin Eckler, I'll give you a pass. Coming out the backfield is tough, but you can't drop balls that are going to cost us in a way that we're giving up pick sixes and 3rd and 5s are just not being converted just because you can't catch the ball out the backfield. And freaking Jalen Guyton. These guys cannot catch these passes from Keenan Allen. Now, Keenan Allen and Mike Williams have also contributed to the drop problems, but in recent weeks, Keenan's been a lot better. So exactly what Keenan just said, he probably did. He probably went to the jug machine and turned it up to max speed and started catching fastballs. Mike Williams needs to do that, and everyone else in this offense needs to do that. And all offseason, they better not be catching any passes out of that jug machine that is not going full speed. Honestly, don't let Chase Daniels throw you passes in practice. Let's start getting used to this.
Well, so I don't like this idea of like people catching it with their body unless that's your only option, right? Like Mike Williams is one of those like go up and get it high point players. But here's the thing. It may have been like that from those like weird Hail Mary, I got nothing left, I'm going to go coach high school football, Phillip Rivers passes. That's not how these balls are coming in. No. And when Mike is like turning around and trying to catch balls against this, they're coming in so hot. Those things bounce off the plastic on your shoulder pad before you can even get the clamp on it in there. So they need to get out, get their hands around, get that little cone going and get that spiral right in there, because he's not throwing ducks. These things are coming in like missile-like passes, and they're just getting in on their body and they're bouncing. The Eckler one, it was bad. It was probably like, I thought he was going to sit down, throws it a little behind him. That's a hot ball coming. Eckler's got shoulder pads on to compensate for the fact that he's, 5'11", 205, trying to play running back in this league and trying to, run with a little bit of power. It's probably a tough adjustment. Like Austin Eckler's shoulder pads and his helmet, like if he didn't have a neck, he looks like a turtle. Like he's like, but he needs that extra padding because he's not a big guy, but he runs with a lot of heart. I love Eckler, and keep balling out.
Yeah, he's going to keep balling out. Newsflash, Chargers weapons in the offense. It's not a bad thing that the balls are coming in hot and hitting you hard. That's what we want them to do. That gives you more time to catch the ball and brace for the next hit or make your next move instead of Rivers throwing it up and you have to make contested catches left and right. You got to be happy about it, and you got to execute. You got to catch those passes, as Keenan said. Anything else about the Broncos game other than it was absolutely trash?
Not about that, but I'll say a little bit on Herbert too. And I know this sucks because he's already doing so much. He's kind of going to have to evaluate who he's throwing the ball to and how he can throw it to him. And I know that sucks, but you then have to sometimes look and say, oh, this needs a little bit of finessing because of who I'm throwing it to. He's open, and there's already so much to be processing at the quarterback position, but that's a burden he may have to take a look at to go to that next level.
And that's an experience thing, right? That comes with experience, and that comes with working with your guys for a long period of time. And a coach like Joe Lombardi, who worked with Drew Brees, who was so good at stuff like that for so long, and really his whole career thrived on just those little tiny tweaks to his game that he would make and just keep getting better and better and better. Although he didn't have the 75-yard bombs that Herbert can throw down the field, Drew Brees is still a Hall of Famer because he made all those little tweaks that most quarterbacks don't even think are necessary to make to really become an elite quarterback. And hopefully with Lombardi's boring play calling is coming some of that knowledge, because development wise, Herbert's about 5 years ahead of what a quarterback should be developing at already. So who knows what he's going to be like in year 8 in the middle of his prime. He's going to be insane if they can just get all that little stuff corrected up. And that's why I have to keep trying to remind people who start to hate on Herbert when he has a bad game or start to come after Herbert. He's so inconsistent, blah, 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 back and forth. Even though if you actually watch the game, Herbert's pretty consistent. I think 5 out of his 10 or 11 interceptions have been either a drop pass or a wrong run route, or a receiver falls on the play, or the DB makes some diving crazy. Eric Kendricks diving across people's bodies, like crazy stuff. It isn't like Herbert's making the wrong read or making a bad throw. It just hurts his stat sheet, so people think that he had a bad game. But people trying to hate on Herbert said, oh, see, blah, 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 whatever they got to say about him. Remember, this guy's in year 2. Tua Tagovailoa is in year 2. Justin Herbert's in year 2. Just saying. Keep those expectations at a certain level, all right? I know Herbert should have more expectations after what he did last year.
Yeah, our opponent this week is in year 2, too. I can't believe they did not flex this into prime time.
I cannot believe it. That is absolute, because they did flex a game, too. If they didn't flex a game, a little bit more understanding. They moved the Chiefs-Broncos game into prime time. Not that that's going to be a bad game by any means. I'm excited to watch that game. That's going to be a lot of fun because I think Denver's going to give them a run for their money. But we're talking about Burrow, Herbert, prime time game would have been perfect. If that game was being played in SoFi, guaranteed book it. It's going to prime time.
Well, the thing is this is the way I look at it. Mahomes is box office. And they're basically saying that Mahomes is a bigger draw than having a game where you're playing Teddy Bridgewater. Like, it's not even like he's playing like a legend or, like somebody else. Mm-hmm. It's Teddy freaking Bridgewater. Like, what kind of draw is that? So they're basically saying the markets of former San Diego and Cincinnati, these two, Burrow and Herbert, haven't arrived yet enough on a national stage to guarantee eyeballs. But I tell you, the show that would have been put on a Sunday night from 2 quarterbacks drafted a year ago, Sunday Night Football, would have been amazing. They messed up.
Yeah, not even just drafted a year ago, but 2 quarterbacks that are playing at an unreal level.
Yeah, great.
I put out a post on TikTok, and it was like I'm doing this new thing where I just put like hot takes in the mornings when I'm at the gym walking on the treadmill. And the take was that both Herbert and Burrow are going to be top 5 quarterbacks in their career. And I truly believe that. These guys are both way ahead of their time as far as what usually happens in a quarterback's development. It usually takes years for them to get to the level that they're at right now. I'm talking about the IQ plays more than just the raw talent. They both process things very quickly.
Yeah.
Anyways, that would have been a fun game on primetime. It's not on primetime, but here is the injury report for that game. For the Chargers, Tavon Campbell, he's been in full practice with a toe injury. He should be good. Man, I love him. I love him to death. He plays hard, but he's really been struggling out there. Matt Filer, limited practice on Wednesday, Thursday. We saw how hard or how much he puts into this O-line and how important it is that he is out there with all the pressure that Herbert faced in that Broncos game. Hopefully he can get out there this weekend. Alohi Gilman has not practiced. Don't expect him to play, I don't think. There's no game status over there, but I don't think he's playing. Trey Marshall, limited practice. He's probably going to be a guy that helps out with Campbell. In the secondary, was out last week. Kenneth Murray's got an ankle injury, but he's been in full practice. And then Asante Samuel Jr., I think until we hear any other news, we can kind of expect him to be on ice. And then for the Bengals, their backup running backs for depth has not practiced all week yet in Chris Evans. Trey Hopkins, their center, He has not practiced yet this week either, which is a big deal because we know what the Bengals O-line's depth looks like. Khalid Kareem, I do not know who that is, but he has had an illness and has not practiced. Darius Phillips, a depth cornerback, was a full practice on Thursday, so he's good. But Riley Reif, probably their best offensive lineman at the tackle position, helped make this O-line kind of serviceable in the offseason. He has not practiced all week either. And then both Auden Tate and Michael Thomas, who I've not even heard from this year at all, either one of those guys, have not practiced. That's not the Saints' Michael Thomas. There's another wide receiver, Michael Thomas, who's been in Cincy for a while, and he's a pretty good depth guy. But I have not heard about him or Tate this year at all. Any reactions to this, Tony? Asante Samuel, obviously we talked about it last week extensively. I think the biggest one for us is getting Filer back on that field.
Yeah, it's getting Filer. We got Kelemete or whatever.
Yeah, he struggled. And we have a kid that I actually liked in the preseason, Brendan Jameis. I think his last name is Jameis. And he's a guy that just didn't play. I expected him to fill in, and they went with Kelemete instead. So who knows? Maybe he's in the conversation to replace Filer this week because Kelemete wasn't good. He was pretty bad. He tried, but he was pretty bad.
Killing me. He's killing me. He was horrible. Little dad joke for you. I think we didn't really go into how much maybe Ibushi, that's the guy we lost earlier, right? To the Achilles or the ACL or whatever. He's playing a little bit nicer than, like he was contributing. That's another position we could maybe move Derwin to. Like, hey, can you block better than Storm Norton? Yeah, you probably can. Congratulations, James. You're now a two-way player. I'm worried about the Filer situation. I think, if anything, it just needs to be more open it up for a little more chaos, right? Because you allow for these off-schedule plays to be more part of it and saying like, hey, this is your first option, your second option, and when it doesn't, go create, kid. And we might fail that way. The AFC's tough, but I want to fail trying things. I want to fail with Josh Palmer on the field, not with Jalen Guyton on the field. I want to fail with Trey McKitty on the field, not Jared Cook. Like if the idea is that we're not going to the playoffs, then let's fail with the young kids so that next year they get that much more. Like imagine what tight ends, they already struggle out there. Look at Kyle Pitts is struggling to find ways to get open. He's the only freaking option in Atlanta, and he can't find ways to get open.
Yeah.
McKitty's going to be open in this offense. He's open every single game for at least a couple targets. Let him get out there and get his feet wet when he can have chances for success playing in this sort of offense where they're looking at Mike Williams and Keenan Allen and Eckler out of the backfield. So, yeah.
Tough. Yeah, and other young guys that come to mind when you talk about that, guys like Kenneth Murray. Let's try him out in all the different unique packages they want to use him possibly in the long term. Lohi Gilman. I know he's injured right now, but he's a guy who has some promise. Maybe not to be like our star safety or be the free safety of this team. Maybe we still bring in someone to develop or bring in a free agent acquisition to free safety that can do something at least. But Alohi Gilman has been very surprising, and he's got me thinking, not that I want to move on from Nas right this second, but if we did make that decision, I wouldn't be as upset about it anymore. Because Nas's contract is coming up as well, and he's been nothing but injured and kind of a flub this entire time. And I've had so much promise for him. He's built like Tyrann Mathieu. He's built to be a legit safety.
Yeah. He doesn't tackle very well. And that's a big part of football is like being able to get there and wrap up. I don't even necessarily need you to like be the kind of guy that lays the wood. I don't want Abram. I don't want Adams. I don't get excited for like big, because half the time you get a penalty anyways, targeting or whatever, but you got to be sound. And when you're not, it's a disappointment. And sometimes I feel myself being critical where I'm like, well, I got to give the guy a break. I could never make any of these. But that's not the point. The point is that if I'm cheering for it out there, I need to feel confident in my cheering. And sometimes I'm like, oh, he's not going to make this tackle. And then he doesn't. And I'm like, I don't want to be right about that.
Yeah,
exactly. I want to be like, oh, he's got this. This is a 2-yard gain. It's not. It's 15 yards.
That free safety spot when you got a guy like Derwin James who can just go back there every once in a while, there's not much pressure on that free safety spot. That's something you could address in the draft in rounds 3, 4, 5, 6.
I don't know. I mean, maybe there's like a world in which they move Michael Davis back there, right? Like maybe he makes a transition and they go address corners in the offseason or something. But
I think that I think he's really good. And I think the cornerback room is in a position where we just need a more consistent veteran than Chris Harris performance wise. I don't know how Chris Harris is as a leader. I've never seen anything. They've never mic'd him up, never seen anything on him as a leader, but as a player, he does not put out enough to be a CB1. That's what he is right now. He's getting paid the most money, but a CB1.
yeah, no,
He's not the CB1. They would never put him out in coverage on a wide receiver one on another team.
oh no. Like if Jamar Chase would have 6 touchdowns this weekend.
You notice Chris Harris was healthy and Tavon Campbell was covering Justin Jefferson. That says a lot. That says a lot. But anyways, X factors for this game, Tony. Who you think?
I'm going with those with the cornerbacks, with the defensive backs. It's like who's gonna show up and play T. Higgins, and Chris Harris has a real challenge. Tyler Boyd is a good receiver. I mean, I would even venture to say if he's not on this team, Tyler Boyd could be top 30 in this league. Like veteran who's not necessarily, hey, Mike, get that camera. Not necessarily the fastest guy or best route runner or whatever, but he's very consistent. He's right there. And like, he's the kind of player that if he was on New England would have had 100 catches every year for, 1,100 yards and 3 touchdowns. Like, he could have been very much in that Julian Edelman, Wes Welker category, but he plays for the Bengals, and now he plays with 2 kids that are better than him, Higgins and Chase. So who's going to make the tackle on Chase? Every time I close my eyes, I'm like, oh shit, he's going to make one of those catches. It's going to be contested. He'll get hit on the hip and then run another 30 yards to the end zone. And I'm going to be screaming at my television set when it happens.
Yeah, I'm very, 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 very concerned about Joe Mixon also. This dude's been on an absolute tear the last couple of games, and he's the exact guy that, like, what's the answer for him? Because if you come up and try and stuff the run, he's just as good as a receiver out the backfield and in space out the backfield as he is as just a straight-up hand the ball off runner. That dude's electric. I'm a little worried about him. But for my X Factor players, I'm going with the entire O-line. I know we're banged up. I know we're struggling, but they have to get it together. They have to gut up and realize that if Herbert has time, it does not matter how bad the defense is. If Herbert has time, he can put up 40, 45 points in a game. He's done it twice this year, and he can do it again against this defense, and that's what we're going to need. We're going to need a high-scoring game. We're going to need to win this game on the side of us outscoring them more than our defense being able to shut them down. Now, if our defense plays good, thank goodness. Let's still try and take off on offense because I think that their offense is too good to wait around and try and play field position. They got to be aggressive. The O-line's got to hold up, and they got to let Herbert go and go after them. Because just as good as their receiving core is and their running back room is, we got kind of similar built offenses. We should be able to go at it with them.
Yeah. I don't have any faith in I want to back you up. I don't have any faith in the offensive line doing anything that you just said.
Exactly.
This is the one thing I would say about the offensive line. He could do him a real favor. And if they came out and ran the ball on like 8 of the first 10, whether it's working or not, right? Like even if they just said, "Hey, we're gonna give these guys a chance to get out here and run block and just go downhill for the first," Bradwell was in the game last week because due to injuries and stuff, and I was like, "Oh, so we're getting these young kids, Roundtree and Bradwell, out there. Let's put these kids in the backfield." And let them split 12 carries in a game. We're just saying like, oh, this whole series is just going to be, you guys are in charge of getting us 10 yards, rushing the football right now. Like, we're just going to do this. And when on number 5, number 6, all of a sudden number 7, he pulls it from the belly over the top to Mike Williams, touchdown, right? But there's this idea that like the offensive line can't pass block. Can they run block? I mean, fuck. Can they block any scenario? Because we're getting kicks blocked too in the Pittsburgh game. So they can't block on special teams. They can't block pass. They can't block run. Then you're all fired. You're all gone. Like outside of Lindsley, what's the guy? Balaga on IR. You're gone because you don't play. We need Filer out there. Storm Norton, Kelemete, like who's the other? Pickens? What's the other? Pimpkins?
Pipkins. He's a
Pipkins.
depth guy. Yeah, he's not good.
Not depth.
All
He's
these
gone.
guys that you're naming are our starting line from last year. They just
Yeah,
say,
I'm
hey,
just saying, bye-bye.
all of you guys, the entire line, including the center, you're all backups.
Bye-bye.
You're
Bye-bye.
all backups now. You're no longer starters anymore. But yes, it is a real area of concern. And when you look at the left side of the line with Slater, Filer when healthy, and Lindsley, locked down. Right side of the line, we got the 32nd ranked right side of the offensive line right now. So hopefully they address that big time in the offseason. The Compas, shout out to the Compas on the beat. They had Joey Bosa on their show this week. It's a really, really good interview and a really good conversation. I really enjoyed it. If you guys want to go check it out, Chargers fan, it's the Compas on the Beat YouTube channel. But anyways, they were talking about the offensive line before they interviewed Bosa, and they were saying that the Chargers GM and everyone that brought in free agents kind of landed every single person. They were giving a shout out to Ode Ibushi, giving a shout out to Filer and how much we paid him and how he is actually probably outperforming what we're paying him. Lindsley, the anchor of the line, and then investing obviously in Rashawn Slater. He's like, what they did was exactly what we wanted for them to fix this O-line last year, and they fixed it. But what they forgot is that in a 17-game season, you need to have some kind of depth. They need to have some kind of guys that can come in and perform for a 2 or 3 game stretch in the middle of the season like this, because people go down. It happens. And we don't have anyone. I would like to see us bring in guys or draft guys that they feel like can play guard and tackle. So that way, if we do land a good 3rd or 4th round offensive lineman, he could play guard and tackle for either spot that goes down in the future. We have no depth on the O-line. No depth. Crazy depth at tight end, crazy depth at wide receiver, crazy depth everywhere else, but zero depth on the O-line.
Yeah. The Anderson kid's been making some nice
Steven Anderson, yeah, he's a little bit sneaky athlete, right? He just comes out the backfield and they don't know because he's kind of like playing a fullback position. And when he gets the ball, he makes people miss.
And he's been going up and making nice plays.
Yeah.
I'm fine with him being in a system with Trey McKitty. I know everybody loves Parham, old 4-foot. He's not it either.
Parham.
He's in my book. He's gone too.
I love Parham, but I don't think he's not good enough to be like a year-long starting tight end. He's kind of a situational guy.
Yeah, sure.
Goal line plays, maybe like those 3rd and 1 play actions. He's pretty good when he knows he's getting a linebacker that's smaller than him. Yeah, that's about it.
You can't disappoint me this many times in big situations, and I got your back. It won't happen. I'll never.
Hey, Tony, that touchdown against the Browns that he had up the sideline, where he made like 4 people miss and ran people over into the end zone. That was like, I was watching that up close and personal. I was like, damn, Parham. Tony probably loved that play.
I love the stiff arm that he had in the game against the Steelers too.
Yeah.
It was a nice little play, but yeah, the too many times where I'm like, you didn't catch that one. You missed another block.
He contributes to the drop problem for sure.
Yeah. So I'm not. Too many times where I'm like, oh man, 3rd and 4, who's he going to? And he goes to Parham and it's dropped. And I'm like, well, of course Staley's going to go for it because why wouldn't you? You know, like we're just going to keep this whole train going all year long. At the beginning of the year, I was like feeling panic in those situations. And now I'm just like, we got a 50-50 shot. Like before I was like, oh man, this means everything. It's like, it doesn't, because it's not the last time he's going to do it. He's just going to keep doing it over and over. So I'm not going to allow myself to be like gutted every time they're lining up for a 4th and 3. I'm like, fuck it. This is just what's going to happen.
Can't handle all this stress over and over and over again. I will say the one thing that you were saying in the preseason was the Josh Palmer over Tyron Johnson and Guyton. Now, I think both of our takes were right. You were right, and that is exactly what they should do at this point. I've inched towards it. I'm now 100% the rest of the year. Palmer should be wide receiver 3. The rest of the season. But I did tell you that it does not matter what Palmer does and what Guyton does. Guyton is going to get the playing time because of what he did last year.
He is,
That's what it feels like, right? Like it's like so clear, obvious that Josh Palmer is better than him.
Yes. Everybody can see it. He's bigger, he's stronger, he's faster, he catches the football, which is an important part of playing the wide receiver position. Somebody should relay that message to the coaching staff. I think that unprovoked, they asked him about another competition battle, and he goes, "Oh no, we're going to compete. Battles are open. Even the Josh is out there. He's competing, whoever." And I was like, "Oh, he's letting it be known." Nobody asked about the wide receiver battle. Why Palmer got the start. Why Palmer is getting. The thing is that I would like to see it more. I want to see Palmer out there for all of those snaps, and Guyton comes in for a breather, because Guyton probably knows all the different positions and routes better. Let him be the guy who comes in subs for Mike or Keenan or whatever, and Palmer's just out there for all their 3 wide receiver sets. He's the starter. He's the guy. Because the kid can burn too. Like, why aren't they sending him deep? Go look at what he was doing at Tennessee, and maybe that was like all they needed him for. But like, he can fly. So let's let him fly.
I agree 100%. Score prediction, Tony, and maybe who you think's gonna be the star stat line player of the game?
I don't know. I'm so tired of the score prediction because it's
impossible to land, but
it's not even like I don't need to nail it, but I would like it to go in the direction I want it to. I'm going 35-32 Chargers, and I'm going with some vultured touchdowns from whichever rookie running back. It's Bradwell or Roundtree. Like, maybe we'll get to see Roundtree do another, like, fraternity dance in the end zone or something crazy or whatever, which was a little too much, but I get it. If I scored, I'd probably do something outrageous too. Yeah, one of these young kids is going to not get lucky, but they're going to have themselves a day. It's going to do something stupid. Couple of rushing touchdowns.
I hope so. I have a similar score prediction. I think late in the game, it's 34-30 or 34-31 if we somehow hit all of our extra points and hit a field goal, which I highly doubt we will. But late in the game, we're down by 3 or 4 points. Justin Herbert takes us down the field, scores the go-ahead touchdown. It's 37-34. Joe Burrow steps back, pressure, throws, intercepted by Derwin James, and the Chargers win it 37-34. And that's the storyline. And it's the game of the week.
I love it.
The game of the week. I think we're going to see some fireworks. We're probably being a little bit too friendly to these offenses, because every time it seems like the stars are aligned, we're going to have Dallas versus Kansas City 19-9. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, in this one, it feels a little bit more like that because both of the defenses have some inefficiencies, right? Where it's like, and they match up nicely. Mixon versus this defense, he just had 169 yards against the Steelers. Welcome to 2 buckets for this guy. These guys going for 200 against us. This is the last thing I want to say, and then you can wrap up the show however you want. Remember how every week I kept going, oh man, just let Hopkins kick those big, long field goals that we're going to need down the stretch or whatever. He missed that field goal so badly. Like, at least if it could have been close. The thing is, you got to inspire confidence by missing where it looks like you've done this before. That looked like a kick where it's like, fan number 788 from section 334 will now attempt a 52-yard. What the fuck was that, Hopkins? It wasn't even close, bro. You inspire zero confidence. When Justin Tucker, I watched him kick a 52-yarder, and it was just dead center down the middle. He's Justin Tucker. He's a Hall of Famer. But you kicked it, and it's like, if this were coming here, it went like this. Way over there, bro.
Really kicked it.
I just knocked over my wife's Christmas decorations.
When I saw that ball come off his foot and it was spinning the wrong direction, I had freaking Michael Badgley flashbacks. He used to do that all the time. Even the ones that he would make, the ball would look like he didn't hit it right at all. But I will say this. He's been great, so we're not going to get on him too much. But it is a fair point that was an ugly-ass kick.
Those are the moments that I was rooting for. I was like, oh, he's going to get a 52-yarder, and he's just going to put it through. And then the ball's like rotating like this. I was like,
exactly.
What did you kick that with? Your shin? Like, how does it even rotate that way?
You got balls on deck over there, huh, Tony?
Footballs everywhere. Look
Threw
at
one,
this.
and you're like, I got another one. Fuck this football. All right, let's
Look
throw
at
this.
this. Poop emoji for that kick right there.
Anyways, the Bengals are red hot right now. This is going to be a tough game for us to win. But what the people are going to be saying after Sunday is that the Bengals were red hot, as in past tense.
San Diego Chargers are fortunate to have Lance Allworth.
On blue, ready?
Don Coryell.